Good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara. And every single one of you gets a gold star this morning for being here at the new 10 o'clock on daylight saving time. Welcome to you, whether you are here in our physical sanctuary, whether you are joining us online in our Zoom sanctuary. We are one community under this big sky that we share here at the Unitarian Society, where we strive to live with integrity, nurture wonder, and inspire actions that transform us and transform the world. Thank you for being here this morning to nurture yourself here in this community. And if you're visiting with us, if you're a friend or family here or afar, we would love to get to know you better and connect with you about everything that's going on here in this congregation. We have a little yellow visitor card you can fill out if you're here in the room, or an online link to a connection card. You can stop by our welcome table after the service. You can join our online coffee hour if you want to get to know other folks. We would love to hear from you and keep you connected with what's going on here beyond Sunday mornings, because there's a lot going on here beyond Sunday mornings. And if you can find out more in the little insert in your order of service or in your Friday email, a couple of things that I want to highlight is we are in this visioning process right now, which you'll hear a little bit more about later on in the service. But everyone, whether you've been here for a month or for decades, everyone is invited to participate in helping cast the vision for this congregation going into the future. And there's small group meetings happening all this month. There's a link to sign up for a time and place that works for you, online, in person. If you're joining us from afar, you are welcome to participate in one of our Zoom gatherings. But we really need your voices and your vision to help bring this to life together. So if you haven't signed up yet for one of these small group gatherings, please do so. We also have coming up this spring, spring Fashion Fling is back. Fashion Fling is this year all genders welcome, so come on down and refresh your wardrobe with some beloved things that maybe you can find treasures at thrift store prices that go to support the congregation and have a great time. And it's also a great time to do some spring cleaning of your own closet. You can drop off donations in Classroom D all week long. And if you don't know where Classroom D is, it's like a treasure hunt all in itself. So you get to ask Charlotte. Charlotte can point you. Classroom D is one of our religious exploration classrooms, and it's a great chance to go check out the rest of the campus if you spend most of your time up here in the sanctuary. Unfortunately, we have not figured out an online participation way yet for the Fashion Fling, but we'll work on it. We also have our Contemporary Issues Forum coming up next week, reflecting on policing in our communities, a very important topic to gather and think through together. So you're invited to join the Contemporary Issues Forum on Wednesday. There's a lot going on here in the Unitarian Society and a lot going on in the world and in our lives. So I invite you now to take a breath, to settle yourself in the space where you are. Allow yourself to be fully present here and now in this moment as we ring our bell and let the sound connect us.
As you use, we light our chalice at the beginning of service to create a sacred space for our reflection, our prayer, our meditation, our music. And those of you joining us online up there are part of this space. Now's the time you can type in your name, the name of your street, and where your chalice is lit. This cradled light is a flare, waving its flame in the air, as a welcome to share our truth and love as we declare. May this chalice shine brightly above par and serve as our community's lodestar, for all are welcome from near and far.
Let us now begin our morning with some singing. Please rise in body and spirit and join in singing our opening song, Love Knocks and Waits for Us to Hear.
Love knocks and waits for us to hear, to open and invite. Love longs to quiet every fear and seeks to set things right. Love offers life in spite of foes who threaten and condemn. Embracing enemies, love goes the second mile with them. Love comes to heal the broken heart, to ease the troubled mind. Without a word, love bids us start to ask and seek and find. Love knocks and enters at the sound of welcome from within. Love sings and dances all around and feels new life begin.
Everyone, do we have any little people in the house who would like to come forward and sit on the rug, or big people who would like to come forward and sit on the rug? Will you sit? Julia's gonna sit on the steps. Anyone else? I thought I saw a couple of kids out there. Ah, they're hiding. Well, this is, oh, here we go. Here comes one or two. Come on up. Everyone's a little slow this morning. I understand. It was a little rough waking up. So this is a little story about a sheep, a wolf, and a big dream. And it's called Anything is Possible. And Max and Maya, it's got some great pictures in it, but we're gonna look at them in the classroom. Now I'm going to ask you to make the pictures in your head. There once was a sheep. Hi, Dylan. There once was a sheep who from the top of her hill watched the birds fly and thought to herself, how lucky they are. They can choose how they look at things, from far away, from up close, or from somewhere in between. One day, the sheep had an idea and ran to see the wolf. I have to talk to you, she shouted. He stopped what he was doing and listened. Let's build a flying machine. Do you think it's that simple? You spend too much time watching the birds in the sky, said the wolf, shaking his head. But eventually, the sheep's dream got the better of the wolf's doubts, and they started working on the flying machine together. They gathered fabric and rods and followed the plans they had designed. When they were ready, they started the machine and took off into the sky. I'm wondering what you all are imagining this flying machine looks like right now. But the fabric wasn't strong enough. It soon ripped and they tumbled to the ground. Let's try again, said the sheep. And she blew up some balloons. What could possibly go wrong? Hold tight, she shouted. This time, as soon as they got the machine off the ground, birds popped the balloons. Oh dear, shouted the wolf, this is never going to work. But they decided to give it one more more try. The sheep had a new idea. She got the wolf to cut out a dragon's tail while she cut out a head. This time, it worked. They were flying. And steadily and surely, they continued to fly. Someone once wrote that only those who dream learn to fly. See, said the sheep, what did I tell you? Anything is possible, admitted the wolf. The sky before them was wide open. I think Julia wonders too, I wonder what we could build, all of us, if we dream together. And that's our story for today.
We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go.
So 2 or 3 times a year here at the Unitarian Society, we do a special welcome for the newest members of our congregation as part of our Sunday service. So this morning, we are collectively going to welcome these new members and their families into our community. So when you hear your name, if you are one of these new folks, come on forward and join us here on the chancel. And not every new member can be here this morning, but we're going to read everyone's name aloud. So come on up if you are here. Jason Bedford and Rebecca Brink, Diane Dunford, Wendy Dishman, Scott Kipp, Dave Monroe, Edward and Janina Oliphant with their children Max and Maya, Deji Olokotun with Max and Sage, David Pickering, Joey Samora, Dulcie Sin, and Gary Summers. And I'm going to invite you all the way up onto the chancel so you can get a good view of this fine community which you are joining this morning. Angie is our membership and outreach coordinator, and she's going to help us welcome you today.
Good morning, everyone. Membership at the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara is a special thing. It's not the same as joining a gym or a social club or some other worthy organization that will send you a bumper sticker in return for an annual donation. This is a community that asks for more than just your signature on a page. We ask that you show up with your full self, all your hopes and fears, struggles and joys, questions and commitments. In return, we hope you find here meaningful connections and a place to grow and learn and thrive as the wonderful human beings that you are. What is possible for this community is only determined by the energy, commitment, and love that people devote to this special place. Because after all, you are members. You are the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara. I'd like to ask Lorraine, one of our leaders of our membership ministry team, to give you a welcome gift.
Good morning. Please come forward and choose one of these small chalices from the table. The flaming chalice is the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. This morning, we give you a small chalice of your own to take home with you. And in just a moment, we will light your candles from our central flame. May the dancing light of this flame remind you of the spark of life within each of us, beautiful and ever-changing. And may the chalice that holds the flame remind you that you are held with love by this community, so that we may shine more brightly together.
So now welcoming our new members requires all of us. So I invite you to rise in body and spirit here in this room and online and read the words that are on the screen. And new members, I realize I called you up here. You may not have your responsive words, but we have a little side screen there where the words will be projected if you don't have the paper in front of you. So everyone here in the gathered congregation, please read with me the words. We welcome you into our community. We offer you our support, encouragement, and love as we travel this path together. We will show up for you, learn with you, and invite you to share your dreams, ideas, and gifts with us. Together, we will strive to build a more compassionate world where all people can flourish. Together, we are the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara, and we are a better place because you are here. New members?
Thank you for welcoming us into this community. We will offer you our support, encouragement, and love as we travel this path together. We will show up for you, learn with you, and share our dreams, ideas, and gifts with you. Together, we will strive to build a more compassionate world where all people can flourish. Together, we are the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara, and we look forward to welcoming others just as you have welcomed us.
Let us give thanks for the gift of this community as we affirm our place in the Unitarian Universalist tradition that calls us toward love. Welcome, and we're so glad you are here. You may be seated. Feel free to blow out the flame if it's easier to travel with their candles unlit, but go ahead and head back to your seats, and our choir has a special welcome song for you. Thank you, singers. I invite you now once again to settle yourself where you are as we enter into a time of reflection, prayer, and meditation. A time to pay attention to your body in this space, your breath as it moves through your body. Pay attention to how you are sitting, the feel perhaps of the pew or the cushion or the chair against your back. Hold your hands maybe open in your lap gently. You can soften your gaze if you like. Notice the beating of your heart. Attend to the way you share this space with others, near and far. And as we turn our minds towards peace this morning, let us extend our hope for a deep and lasting peace, rippling outward from this moment into the future, extending our care and compassion for all of those living under threat of war and violence, those seeking shelter under dangerous skies. Extend our prayers for peace, that rockets and guns fall silent, that crops grow and water flows again. And most especially for the children who are impacted by war and violence. Those whose futures are shaped by the choices we make in our world today. May we find a way toward flourishing instead of famine. May we find a way toward love and compassion instead of fear and silence. May we find a way forward in peace for ourselves, for this community, and for the world. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
Good morning, I'm Kier Zecker, a member of your worship arts team, and I want to start with a kind of random question. I'm wondering, how many of you grew up swimming in a public pool? Any other folks out there? Wow, a lot of you. And for those of you who didn't, was there another public facility that you gathered at frequently? Maybe it was ballparks or a community center or a developed park. And if you can, do you remember anything about those facilities? The sights, the sounds, the smells, the feelings you had spending time there? For me, the neighborhood public pool holds a really important and special part in my development and outlook on life. I moved often as a child, and our family would locate the closest pool to our new location and teach my brother and I how to get to it. That usually meant walking with us, showing us the route, and introducing us to how the building operated, who worked there, and where to put your stuff and change. And what's interesting to me is I can remember the details on a visceral level, the feelings that I had at the many public pools along the way, more clearly than some of my school grounds or other places I spent a lot of time. I remember the intense smell of steamy chlorine trapped inside, and the clanging of metal lockers, the happy chatter of older women speaking languages I didn't know, the exciting squealing of little kids so excited to swim, or the cries of protest not to get in, and the peeling paint from all the humidity. I remember flying off really bouncy, high diving boards into frigid water and paddling as fast as I could to the metal ladders. I remember holding my breath for a long time, playing endless games of sharks and minnows and Marco Polo, maybe even talking adults into launching us high into the air. And as a teen, meeting friends there to try tricks off the high dive, challenge ourselves, and just hang out. In the water, my body felt free and strong and happy. And in these spaces, I felt welcome to be the physical being that was me. There was nothing special to bring or wear, but presence, that joy of movement that I had, respect for others in the water. I felt a special sense at home. I could also remember it was an inexpensive place to go. All my friends could come. My mom wasn't stressed if we wanted to go every day, and we pretty much did. This relationship with public pools has continued throughout my life. And here in Santa Barbara, I started swimming at Los Baños del Mar down by the waterfront in 1992, the year it was put on the National Register of Historic Places. Luckily, it was there to go to, because 1992 is the year after a group of swimmers had rallied the community and raised a huge sum of money to overturn the city's plan to demolish the building and the pool. And as part of the plea to save the pool, the Friends of Los Baños, as they're called, had Santa Barbara historian Neil Graffey remind everyone that since 1901, Los Baños del Mar, in its 3 different physical iterations, had served as a communal gathering place, a pool, a recreation hub for locals. People told story after story and unearthed their old photos of generations of community activity there, of positive engagement, of good times. And I'm grateful for their effort. From the beginning, showing up at dark 30 a.m. to swim my workout with others, I felt the specialness of sharing this particular place. I was welcomed into the group as a new one in a long line of generations of Santa Barbarians who had showed up to move through the water and connect with their neighbors in this space. There was a reverence for this place, inside and out. Outside, we can smell the presence of the ocean. We can hear the seagulls. We can feel dwarfed by the towering old palm trees that were planted for this area's significance over a century ago, and find our stride in the bounty of a 50-meter pool. We watched some incredible pink sunrises together. We've shivered through the winters and swam under the pelting rain in a hailstorm or two. And because you're sharing a lane, there's opportunity to have these small moments of check-in with others, to commiserate or encourage each other, or to listen. And inside, the shower room is one big area. It's a space for the larger group welcoming people in. For group announcements, we had celebrations of birthdays there with singing, sometimes even dancing in the middle. And the locker room's also one big area, usually brimming with the chatter of what we accomplished in the water, what's ahead for the day, and a laughter that seemed to just bubble out of being in a post-swim workout in that small space. And over time, sharing would go deeper. It did for me, and it was a space I felt safe to share my griefs and heartbreaks. There's an ethic of care that's palpable when in Los Baños del Mar. It feels like the awareness of this history, of the purpose of the building as a special community and public gathering place for so long, and knowing that it's the only classic bathhouse and pool of its type that was saved out of 20 or more along the Southern California coast, and that the swimmers there created this nonprofit to care for it, contribute to the health and longevity of this facility. that somehow this relationship of respect for the facility extends to and has affected the feeling of relationship and care that happens inside. I know that I've cared enough to show up for city meetings about the future of Los Baños, and I've cared enough to show up for others there. Public space is dear to me because it's shared with all. For me, that creates a feeling of welcome, okay to be me as me, an opportunity to meet others from a variety of backgrounds and experiences, and an opportunity for me to be part of the voice of ideas for change and possibility. Sometimes I swim backstroke, and looking up at the sky, watching those huge old palms waving in the blue, moving my body, surrounded by people in my community, I can drift back in time and imagine how many others have enjoyed exactly this same scene, the same feeling of freedom and welcome, reverence. And I've shared this reflection with you because the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara is an incredibly special place to me, not only in my heart and in the deep bonds of relationship that have happened here, but also in this physical space. The significance of the past places that we've gathered and the history of all those that have come before me and used this space. And adding my voice to the possibility of what could be here. Because I care. As the capital campaign visioning process begins, I want to remember to get on my back, to feel the freedom of my spiritual self that I feel here, and look up at the sky for the possibility of what could be. Okay, thought I had this. Each month at the Unitarian Society, we give away a portion of our offertory to a program in this community that's living out our values in the world. And our March outreach offering goes to PFLAG. And PFLAG has been supporting the LGBTQ community and the families of LGBTQ people for over 50 years. Personally, I remember PFLAG holding this huge bridge between my family and I when I came out in the early 90s. And they are still strong and working in our community today. Please give generously as you are able, and join me in reading our gratitude. Help me, please. Affirmation of gratitude and giving. Thank you. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others.
the hills to the land where fancy is free, and stand where the peaks meet the sky and the lochs meet the sea, where the rivers run clear and the bracken is gold in the sun. How the cares of tomorrow can wait till this day is done. Oh, come by the hills to the land where life is a song, and sing while the birds fill the air with their joy all day long, where the trees sway in time and even the wind sings in tune. How the cares of tomorrow can wait till this day is done. Come by the hills to the land where legend remains, where stories of old fill the heart and may yet come again, where the past has been lost and the future has still to be won. How the cares of tomorrow can wait till this day is done. How the cares of tomorrow can wait till this day is done.
Thank you to Gwendolyn and our guest musicians for that lovely, lovely song. And as Kira was sharing their reflection, I couldn't help but wonder, since 1901, how many members of this congregation swam in Los Baños the way you have. So many years ago now, when I preached one of my first sermons on the climate crisis here at the Unitarian Society, one of the first of several, and I'm sure not the last, I remember a specific moment here in this room. I think it was during the benediction, when we were all gathered, holding hands, ready to sing the closing song. And it was suddenly very clear to me that if things ever got really bad, if the proverbial you-know-what ever hit the fan, if the world really truly did fall apart around us, then this place and these people would be where I would show up to figure out what to do. I think I may even have said it out loud. Turn and look around, because this is the community that will be gathered to get us through whatever may come next. After a sermon that was probably, I'm sure, a little bit depressing given the topic, this is where I found hope that whatever happens among us here on this earth, that we don't have to face it in isolation, that there are places and people that wade into the waters together. 10 years ago, or whenever it was that I preached that sermon, I had no idea. I had no idea about the fires and mud flows and that eerie time for weeks when the sky turned yellow and you couldn't even see to the end of your block. Do you remember that, those of you who were here? I had no idea that the rain would come faster than this city was built to handle, and the creeks would overflow their banks, and the roads would turn into waterways. I had no idea about the election of 2017. And the summer of 2020, after the killing of George Floyd, and the January 6th insurrection the year later, and the resurgence of white nationalism and the threat of fascism looming here in the United States. And I had no idea about the pandemic, the invisible threat that would kill millions around the world and scatter us into our separate spaces for nearly 2 years, that still haunts the spaces between us. And in each of these situations, and that's just in my short tenure here in this long history of the congregation, in each of these situations, this community has responded with remarkable resilience and compassion and this willingness to just lean in and learn and adapt. A few weeks ago, I was sitting with members of the Vision team, who are the folks helping clarify the congregation's vision for this future capital campaign we're planning, and we were talking about the Unitarian Society's history of rising to the occasion and recovering time and time again after crisis. This congregation that has been here for almost 150 years has seen its fair share of disasters. This building we are in right now is here because the previous building fell down in the earthquake of 1925. This beautiful sanctuary was born out of crisis. Over the generations, the members of this community have emerged from the ashes of the Civil War when the congregation first got off the ground. They've lived through more than one pandemic, 2 world wars, the Great Depression, Vietnam, the tumultuous 1960s. There have been internal crises. The congregation was nearly torn apart by ministerial misconduct several decades ago. And we've responded to social crises, crises of housing and homelessness, people seeking a safer place in our community. Immigration justice and racial justice, the environmental crisis. We've emerged over and over again to meet these needs. And so as we were considering this legacy, this incredible legacy of the Unitarian Society here, the Vision team and I were talking about how we've been great at crisis response, at embracing this bold vision when times are hard. And when a building falls down, it gets rebuilt stronger and more beautiful than it was. But looking ahead at the future of the Unitarian Society, the Vision team and I had this conversation about what's a little bit different right now with what we're doing right now in this visioning process. Because despite all of the challenges and crises in the world today, this upcoming campaign, this thing we're trying to envision here, it's actually more than crisis response. We are trying actually to get on the other side of crisis response into a sense of possibility. Not just what needs to be done, not just what has to be fixed to preserve what we've got, but rather what can we do to build the future we hope for? What are we doing, the Vision team articulated? What we're doing is we're building this future not just born out of catastrophe, not just a response to trauma, but growing upward from a sense of possibility. It's necessary to dream of blue skies too, not just storms. It's necessary to do what Keir so beautifully articulated in that vision of lying on your back and seeing the sky overhead and imagining what could be. Blue sky thinking is this phrase for entering that creative dreaming where we imagine that all the obstacles have disappeared, the clouds have parted, and there is the possibility of a bright future. How long has it been since you've allowed yourself permission to believe in the possibility of a bright future? It's a way of asking ourselves, given what we've got, and it's a lot here at the Unitarian Society, and given the future that our values call us toward, the future we hope to create, what can we make possible that will strengthen people in the generations to come as they face their own moments of crisis and change? What can we give from our own experience of what we have lived through in our lives, collectively and individually, that will support those who will come after us to live into the flourishing of their lives, no matter what may come? What legacy of resilience and hope do we want to build into the very walls of these buildings, tangible and real, that will enable people to survive and thrive? And how does the space we inhabit reinforce the values that we hope to live by? And there's some themes beginning to emerge from this conversation, themes of resilience and welcome, and a sustainable, ecologically minded community that thinks of the generations ahead, not just the now. And not just the resilience of the buildings themselves, but how the space can support the emotional and spiritual resilience of the people who occupy it, whether they're members of this congregation or members of the wider community who come here for all kinds of reasons and leave feeling held and supported and encouraged and connected to this community. How do we keep our doors open and lights shining when the power goes out? Both literally, how do we keep our lights shining when the power goes out with sustainable and renewable and dependable resources? But also, how do we keep the lights shining within us, powered by connection and beauty and a sense of the sacred, a sense of meaning and purpose that extends beyond just one moment? What do we need to build for that kind of deep resilience? The Vision team is asking us this question right now, to take this leap of imagination into the future of this community and dream about what that means. And there's lots of ideas out there, and we're still in this very early phase of collecting and gathering and surfacing what's possible. Because, my friend, the future needs us. They need us to be good ancestors right now, right? All of us are going to be ancestors one day. And we have the choice right now what kind of ancestors we want to be. Our children and our grandchildren need us to be good ancestors right now. They need us to look up into that clear blue sky and think not just about this moment, but imagine a future where they can flourish, their beautiful selves in the sun. Because this future where all people can flourish with worth and dignity, this future is not certain. We are a faith of constructive and creative power. We are not a faith dependent upon a preordained eschatology, right? A preordained arc that we just have to sit back and wait for to arrive. That's not our theology. Our theology is that we build it together. We co-create the future we want. And it only exists if people like you, like all of us, work to create it. It's not preordained. And if there aren't people of goodwill thinking about that future, and not just thinking and dreaming, but then building and investing in it, making those dreams into a reality, if people of goodwill don't do this work, then the future will be shaped by other agendas. And we can see that happening right now. Because I have seen more clearly, perhaps, than I ever have before, that if we don't seize this moment, to build the spaces and places that will hold space for people to renew and recharge and connect, if we let community building hubs like the Unitarian Society kind of slip away into the past, then the future will have lost something precious and necessary. Because there are other people thinking about the future with a very different set of values than those we live into here at the Unitarian Society. There are think tanks, my friends. There are anti-democratic associations. There are white nationalist organizations making plans and building power. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not. But I'm not talking about shadowy underground organizations and rumors. I'm talking about well-funded, well-connected organizations with websites and social media accounts and documented plans for reshaping the future as we know it and as our children will live it. We cannot wait to just respond to a crisis, even though we are really good at that. And even though we know another crisis will eventually present itself, we have to be proactive. We can't just define ourselves by what we are not, what we don't want. We have to imagine what we want to become. We have to imagine those blue skies and build it and dream it into being. In 1971, in the midst of the Vietnam War, the beat poet Diane de Prima wrote a poem called Rant. I like the title already, which outlined the critical need for people to cultivate a powerful imagination, an imagination stronger than war and destruction because people's lives depended on it. And this is an excerpt from that poem she wrote. There is no way out of the spiritual battle. The war is the war against the imagination. You can't sign up as a conscientious objector. The war of the worlds hangs here, right now, in the balance. It is a war for this world to keep a veil of soul-making. To keep it a veil of soul-making. The war is the war for the human imagination, and no one can fight it but you. No one can fight it for you. The imagination is not only holy, it is precise. It is not only fierce, it is practical. Men die every day for the lack of it. What I love about de Prima's poem is that she not only calls people into this practice of holy imagination, as she names it, she calls for us to cultivate an imagination as precise and as fierce and as practical, as real as we can make it. Keeping the soul of the world intact requires a vision, and without that vision, she says, people die for want of it. They die in wars because we can't imagine peace. They die in hospitals because we can't imagine well-being, in bathrooms and back alleys and prison cells because we can't imagine liberation, in isolation and loneliness because we can't imagine community and connection. We need sacred containers for the kind of imagination that will heal us and the world. And we must cultivate this fierce and liberatory imagination that is practical and precise as much as it is holy and human. We must not only imagine the kind of community we want to be, but the container in which that community exists. The way it looks and feels, the way the buildings sit lightly upon the earth. The way the campus is accessible and beautiful and soul-sustaining for each and every person who arrives here. Who knows what insights will emerge from you all at the start of this process that will add to this long-term legacy of this community. We can build up the capacity of this sacred space, this gift we have been given, so that it can be resilient enough to respond to whatever comes next, because we were the people bold enough to dream that future into being. This is our task. my friends. So let's take some time over this next month or two and imagine those blue skies. No barriers, letting the clouds part. And what would happen if we invested in our dream of a beautiful world? May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. Let us sing into that future now together. Yes, rise in body and song. Put that energy into the way we're going to sing together. I can see clearly now this optimistic and lovely opportunity to lie back and look at those blue skies together.
Here we go. I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. Gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Yes, I can make it now, the pain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. Gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Here comes the bridge. Look all around, there's nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, there's nothing but blue skies. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me blind. Gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. It's gonna be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Woo! Nicely done.
So stay right where you are. Stay right where you are, and if you want to go ahead and get connected to those around you, if you have permission, you can hold hands or put your hands on your heart or hold them open. And I was thinking that line in the song, here's the rainbow I've been praying for. If you're looking for that rainbow, it's right here in this room. Even when the skies are cloudy outside, take a look around this community and you will find rainbows, my friends. And as you go out into this beautiful and heartbreaking world, may the light of love shine upon you, out from within you, be gracious unto you, and bring you peace. For this is the day we are given. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And let us call out a blessing.
Call out a blessing, call out a blessing, call out a blessing, call out a blessing, call out call